The Buckeyes are barreling into October, undefeated, ranked number 1, and ready for homecoming on Saturday against Minnesota. But before we can flip the calendar, there's one more celebration in September.
That's right.
It's a Talking Tuesday.
Yeah.
Look at
this setup we have.
Wow, look at this
growing
graphic.
up.
I mean, I almost feel professional. Yes, it is Talking Tuesday on the beat. So that means I'm joined, as always, with one exception. For the world
We don't need to
traveling,
talk about the one exception.
10
all right?
TVs, Adam King.
You know, let me just say to you, the listener, someone said to me in Seattle this weekend, "Welcome back." And I thought, what a nice thing to say.
What did they mean?
They said, "How was your trip?" And I thought, that's an insane thing and so nice to ask someone that you've never met. And it was very, very, very nice. I will say, I texted Austin on Talking Tuesday because I was upset that I wasn't a part of it. I texted him and I said, "Hey, did you get it shot?" He said, "Yeah, we took care of it.
We're good."
And I was sad. And I listened, and it was a good show.
Well, we missed you. And also, shout out to a lot of those Ohio State fans out in Seattle who have been watching Talking Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
For you, not for me.
No, they watch for you
Talking
too.
Tuesday is the best day of the week. It's the only day I want to watch the beat. And kudos to them. But actually, everyone who's been watching the Austin and Berm show.
It's awesome to see you guys get the recognition when you're out and about. I love it.
I appreciate it. And we're humbled and grateful and ready for month number 2 of the regular season.
Pumpkin spice season.
Which Adam is fired up for that. So he's going to bring in a little coffee to talk to Ryan Day in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center.
Fun fact, little insight. I spilt pumpkin spice latte all over myself before the game in Washington. Had to go buy a Tide.
Well, now
pen.
you're going to have to do that for every game.
Every game. It worked. And starting with my question for Ryan Day, I kind of got this question after the game. I was sitting thinking about it, looking back on it, and I thought, how fun has this season been to watch these guys grow, to watch them develop? So I would almost ask Ryan, at this point in the season, you're getting ready for October, does it feel like you have a higher ceiling than you did last year? Because if you think about last year, which is a crazy thing to say, I don't know if you noticed, they won a national.
They did win the national championship. It's hard to do any better.
Yes. But when you think about last year, they were so developed. They came into the season, the expectation was win a national title. Whatever happens between game 1 and game 16 doesn't matter. They just need to win. This year, it's been about growth every week. And if you look at this defense, I mean, they keep getting better. They've allowed, just 2 touchdowns this season?
2.
I think that's pretty good. They played 4 games. And so with the offense and seeing where this defense is there this feeling and excitement more so with the team that you can grow knowing that this looks very different right now? A good different.
Yeah.
And getting you set for this next month and moving on to November and then onward. I just feel like it has to be a whole different coaching style for Ryan that he probably enjoys a little more.
Yeah, and I think if I had to guess based on my experience now into the 7th year of covering Ryan Day, he'd say, well, college football has changed. There's no style points. So, our goal is to win the last game of the season and hoist the trophy, and however it looks to get that, one game at a time, win every game. I know that that's how he would answer it, but when we're watching it transpire, and I think that this conversation is probably, more primarily geared towards the defense, where it's like you can see that maybe the overall talent level is higher on this group than it was a year ago, which again is a crazy thing to say. But, if there was a part where we were skeptical or wondering what the defensive line was going to do, that was the entire offseason conversation. And then you watch Caden Curry with 5 tackles for loss and Caden McDonald with 2 sacks and Kenyatta Jackson play one of the best games of his career against a team that we spent 2 weeks saying, look at all this offensive talent at Washington. This is going to be the one that shows if the silver bullets are for real or not. Well, guess what? They are. And if that puts them in a position where the offense doesn't even have to reach its true ceiling the way it might have last year, that's the wildest part, because I think we can rightfully assume that in a month's time or on Saturday against Minnesota, Julian Sayin will take another step forward and Jeremiah Smith is still going to be a handful for everyone to deal with. And Bo Jackson is coming on with the ground game. So that offense is going to kick it into another gear, and the defense is already there.
It's been remarkable to watch this defense. I said before the season, I thought at the end of the year they could be better. And I keep playing that over and over again in my head because I feel like they might already be as good at least. It's credit to Matt Patricia and where they are. I also want to ask Ryan, does that give you more of a safety blanket? I call it like a warm blanket when hey, if Julian goes out there and struggles on
better than a cold blanket.
It's true. Although you get a nice cold blanket on you, the body
better
heat.
than a wet blanket.
There you go. You get a nice wet blanket on you. That's not fun. But does it give you a sense of security when you're out there? And for Brian Hartline, who's a guy that's calling plays for the first time in his career, which shout out to Hartline in the second half there. I thought he called a great game. He called a good game the whole way around. There was just some bad breaks there in the first half. But in the second half,
limited possessions.
Yeah, in limited possessions. But the second half, I mean, when you got to see them start clicking, it was beautiful to watch. I wonder, though, does Matt Patricia give you this ability to just completely not worry on the offensive side of the ball? Once Jeremiah Smith scored that touchdown in the first half, they did not need any more points for the rest of the game. That's a crazy thing to say. They had won the game. Yeah. That was the game-winning touchdown. And so if you're Ryan Day, doesn't that make you go, wow, if all I need to do is get to 18 points or get to 21 points or get to 24 points, obviously that's not the goal.
Right.
You want to be up there in the 40s. They know they can be, but it has to give you the option to develop these guys more, to try more things, to see different looks and lead that towards what you hope come December and January is much bigger.
Yeah, and I think that it's an interesting question. I really like it because the head coach's mentality has to be, or probably is, or should be different than Brian Hartline's mentality. You don't want, if you're Ryan Day, to be like, you know what, Brian, just keep us in this, all right? Don't make any mistakes. Play it close to the vest. Get us to the finish line. 2 touchdowns are plenty. Like, you want Brian Hartline to be constantly thinking about the best way, the next step, the next evolution of the passing attack, what they need to do to spring the ground game, to improve as the season goes on and unlock more potential in Julian Sayin. You want him to be thinking, let's get this offense back to 50 points a game. So what's, I guess, the headset conversation for Ryan Day, because he's been in those shoes.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't want the head coach to be like, hey, cool it, throttle it down a little bit. Like, how does that work in game? Where the head coach might be saying, let's take less risks in this game, but the offensive coordinator still needs to be, thinking about the best solution and trying to figure out what the defense is doing, which I think is also a key part for what happened on Saturday at Washington, is that the Huskies gave a bunch of looks in the first half that Ohio State wasn't prepared for. They knew that they weren't going to play nothing but man the way that they had the first 3 weeks, but some of what they saw with the deeper coverage and the shell putting a lid on Jeremiah Smith and double coverage, like, they didn't have immediate answers or immediate opportunities to adjust in game because of that limited number of possessions. By the time you saw that third drive in the first half and Jeremiah scores and then they come right back out of the locker room, it's like, okay, they've got a game plan going here. We just hadn't really had a chance to see it because the plays were so limited. And I know that can be frustrating for any play caller, and Ryan Day has been in those shoes. Like, that sort of putting it all together, managing risk, trying to push the envelope, figure out how to adjust in the first half of the game, I think is really interesting, especially as Ryan Day is now a full year into this CEO role, and what it's like dealing with, or having those conversations with Brian Hartline about managing all that is really interesting to me. We said it probably 10 times. It'd be great if we could just listen to the headsets.
Yeah,
we knew.
I'd love it. Well, Ryan said you would not want to hear that.
I would.
You would.
He's wrong about that.
Yes, but I think you
disagree.
I think you can make a lot of money mic'd up with the Buckeyes. That would
coming soon to 10 TV.
There you go. That would be a great, great show. I want to look. We talk on Tuesday. We don't just get to talk to Ryan Day. We also get to talk on Wednesday to some players.
We do.
And
a wonder in Wednesday.
A wonder in Wednesdays. I like that. You got a bunch of these? How do you come up with these all so quickly?
I just love alliteration.
It's very impressive. And I don't know who we'll get to talk to right now.
Who would you want to?
James Peoples.
Okay.
And here's why.
All right.
And I want to talk to James Peoples and I want to talk to C.J. Donaldson. And
but not Bo Jackson.
No, because I want to ask them about Bo Jackson.
Okay.
I want to know how they feel in this running back room right now. More so James Peoples and then C.J. Donaldson. What is that conversation? I guess ultimately we don't get to talk to him on Wednesday, but I would like to talk to Coach Locke and say, what is the conversation in that room right now on the fact that Bo Jackson is very clearly the best running back on the field at this point? When he is out there, he is making game-changing plays seemingly every single time he gets the ball. And we said this before, it's not game-changing plays, it's not 80-yard runs. It was at one point, but it's not every time. It's the 5 yards, the 6 yards, the 7 yards that are taking the stress off of Julian Sayin.
Yeah.
But how do you balance that? Because C.J. Donaldson has gotten his carry. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns. You can't complain if you got 2 touchdowns.
That's pretty good.
But for someone like James Peoples that came into this, as we all thought, the RB1 of the season, how do you balance saying, we know what you're capable of, we just need you to get there a little more? And he had some catches in the past game there, but it was very clear And we said before the bye week that it was time to name Bo Jackson RB1, and it felt like they did.
You did say that.
It felt like against Washington, C.J. Donaldson might have got the first carry, but they did not care what the optics of it looked.
The heaviest workload went to Bo Jackson.
And so
period.
I want to know, what is that balance like in a room? Because it is such a unique situation where we're not 16 games into the season. We're 4 games in. And all offseason, we talked about James Peoples. And all offseason, we saw, what is it, Sonic and Knuckles?
Yeah.
And it turns out Bo Jackson is the squirrel. Isn't that like somebody? Who's the really
Tails.
fast? Tails. Squirrel. There, Tails. He's the really fast.
Squirrel.
I don't know. I knew he was a squirrel. I thought isn't that?
It pays to have an 8-year-old at home.
It does.
She's been watching all the movies.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Tails. Like, I just wonder, how are you handling that? How is James Peoples doing in this discussion? And I know it's not always a fun discussion to have. It's one you're having on the defensive line right now with Edric Houston and guys. How do you? The thing is, if there are guys that struggle, and this sounds very blunt, but like aren't good at football, like they're just not as good as the other guys, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But when you know you have talent and you want these guys to play to their full potential, what are those conversations like now as you're 4 weeks into the season, 4 games in?
Yeah.
Hey, how do we get you to where we know you can play at so that you are in there time and time again?
Yeah, I think that they, on Saturday at Washington, they didn't manage it the way that I thought they would.
No.
I think they did a good job at it. They found, like, Bo Jackson was being pretty productive on a snap-in, snap-out basis, and Ryan Day had said a week ago, you're going to find the hot hand and write it. That's what we did with Quentin Judkins and Travion Henderson a year ago. That's what's going to happen now. And when he said that then, I still thought, all right, well, that probably means, because I did think going into the year that C.J. Donaldson would start against Texas, would get the most carries, and he did. And I thought that would probably carry over into the first Big Ten game, the first road game. And when C.J. Donaldson got rolling early on or was out there early, I was like, yeah, this is going to play out about how I thought. When Bo Jackson became the second one in, and then the carries were consistently coming his way, and I believe he finished with 17.
Nearly 100 yards.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, well, Ryan Day looked at what happened in the first month of the season, not just on game day, but obviously in practice as well, because he kept referring back to ball security and pass protection, being a complete running back if you're going to get on the field. So clearly, Bo Jackson had taken that challenge to heart and then earned the opportunity. And if there had ever been a notion, and we hear this a lot, it's going back to, the first year that I was covering this team and Urban Meyer, and like, there's too much seniority, always deferring to the veteran players.
That's a very good.
There is, you look at this team, and it is very much earned on a week in, week out basis. Devin Sanchez playing against Texas was the first sign of that. Bo Jackson playing as extensively as he did against Washington is yet another sign of that. Nate Roberts has had opportunities in all 4 games, fullback and tight end. Maybe got too many of them on Saturday, but that's neither here nor there. Ohio State is showing that it is going to be flexible and adaptable with its personnel on a week in, week out basis, which I think has to go down as very encouraging because there's still room for all those players to get better.
I think I know what I'm going to ask Ryan tomorrow. I think you just kind of shaped the question.
Okay.
I think you nailed it.
Well, that's what we're here to do.
Yes. But I think I'm actually going to ask that. We come up with 10 questions that we could ask. And it's simply put, when in your career did it change in your mindset that, and maybe it did, maybe he's always had it, but it does feel like in recent years that talent has superseded seniority. I mean, it feels like we are at a new era in Ohio State where they are not afraid to say to a senior, this sophomore is better than you, and we've got to get him on the field.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you win championships. It's really tough, and it's impressive in modern college football how you balance, because these are young men, and you have to balance the fact that you give everything to these young men. Every guy on the roster they care about, they pour into.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, ding. At the end of the day,
the day ends.
It comes to winning.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a score. And Ryan always says, and I think it's a great statement, that he's here to help craft those young men, to help grow young men. He just has to win games so he can keep it here.
Yeah.
And so for him, when was that moment where you realized, and how do you handle that? How do you personally, Lincoln Keenholz is a good example. Great leader. But at some point you have to say, Julian's our guy, and he's proven why. And so it's really interesting. I think it's very similar to the conversation we had with Jeremiah last year in the wide receiver room. And obviously, Bo Jackson isn't to that superstardom when he came in here. But Brian Hartline had to say, this guy is too good to not put on the football field. I understand that I have all these guys that have been here, working here, but I have to get this guy on. That's where I am with Bo Jackson.
And it's not clearly a clean-cut scenario at every position, because if we were just saying talent supersedes veteran, know-how, experience, maturity, whatever, then you'd be like, well, just leave Edric Houston out there all the time. And that's not what's happening.
Yeah,
So, and I asked, about Edric a week ago to Ryan Day on a Talking Tuesday, because I thought maybe there was a chance that the injury was lingering, and maybe that's legitimate based on the fact that he had to leave and go to the locker room on Saturday at Washington and got that ankle taped up again. I don't know. Ryan Day didn't talk about the injury a week ago and was talking about finding more consistency. And right now it's just going a slightly different way. Kudos to Tywone Malone for stepping up the way that he has at defensive tackle. But we've had this conversation a lot and in a number of different positions where it's, all right, well, if Ohio State's going to reach its potential, these guys that were 5 stars and recruited so highly and coveted so desperately by Ohio State, those are the ones that have to tap into that. And we talked about that with Julian Sayin at quarterback, and that seems obvious.
Yeah.
And there's a world where it's not even necessary because Ohio State is the best defense in the country right now. And we're still asking if they could be better at 3 technique or if they could be more stout against the run. Washington found some success there, not the end zone, but they moved the ball a little bit between the 20s on Ohio State. So whether this conversation is relevant or not, maybe that's up for debate. But between Edric Houston and Tywone Malone and Jason Moore was available again on Saturday for the first time this season, I think there's also still an opportunity for that position to get better, but it's the same conversation that you're having and that is worth having. How do you determine that? And what's going to set the difference for Ohio State to make those decisions with that personnel moving forward?
And what's really interesting is, and here's another question, does the success of this team allow you to learn a little more? Does it allow you to tinker? I mean, I would even go back to last year. It wasn't pretty at all times. I mean, I think back to the Nebraska game coming off of Oregon.
Do we have to think about that?
You don't.
Okay.
You don't. But those are games where you would go in expecting to tinker, expecting to learn, expecting to grow and see and try things. And you look at yourself in the third quarter and you're like, we got to win a football game.
Right.
This Minnesota game is one of those games where you go in and you say, we expect to be able to learn a lot about ourselves, to try new things, to see if this guy can take that step we were hoping for. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think this Minnesota game's going to go that way. I think because this Ohio...
3 touchdown favorites suggests you're probably right.
And I think that's a little low. You heard it here first.
Okay. Let me see your phone.
Yeah. I also think that Ohio State has proven this year that in those scenarios, they will take care of the team.
Yeah.
I mean, the OU game got a little wonky there for a little bit, but they settled in, and obviously they ended up winning by 28 points. That's not too shabby. When you look at the Texas game, that was a matchup game. You have to just win that game. The Washington game was a matchup game that they ended up turning into a game where they got to learn a little bit about themselves.
They did. Yeah. And they had to, which I think is a credit to Washington and the environment. I mean, you were out there jet lagged. You saw how awesome it was.
I said before the game that there were a lot of Buckeye fans there. And Austin said, there's always a lot of Buckeye fans. And he's not wrong. But then we were standing on the sideline and I said, sure looks like a lot of Buckeye fans. And I feel I was accurate in the fact that Ohio State traveled. They always travel. They traveled more than I expected. That place.
I would agree with that.
Yes. That place was packed with Buckeye fans.
And I bet, based on the glowing reviews that we've provided and the probably 15,000 Ohio State fans that were out there, Washington in 2029 probably better prepare now for a lot more Scarlet to come back there because it is a very cool environment.
And Seattle's really cool.
Yeah.
I went up in the Space Needle.
Yeah.
I looked all around and then it was crazy. It was so cool.
Yeah.
I caught a fish. Well, I dropped a fish. Then I caught a fish.
Yeah. Which one was on camera?
With both.
Oh, both were? Okay.
I ruined a suit.
Yeah. Well, that happens.
Yeah. You win some, you lose most. I will say going into this Minnesota game, I'm very excited. This feels almost like what I thought the OU game. It's weird. I feel more confident in the Minnesota game than I did in the OU game. Minnesota, they're good.
Yeah.
Rutgers gave them a great game this weekend. I just feel like Ohio State, this might be one of those games where you just let loose and just say like, all right, let's set the tone early. Let's get out of this game. Let's make it by the fourth quarter that Julian Sand's not playing so that we can. And for Brian Hartline, this is one of those games where you carry over the momentum from Washington. I mean, they were cooking in that second half. I think they scored on every possession, right?
In the second half, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can ask for.
Until they ran out the clock.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't count. And so I want to see them just take that momentum. I just want a fast start. And the final question for Ryan. We talk about fast starts every week. That's all we say. Just a fast start.
Will you start fast? Is that the question?
That's the question. No, the question is how? How does a team start fast? Like, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's always a crapshoot. And it's not just with Ohio State. It's with every college football team. You're like, we want to start fast. And then you go out there and you fumble a punt and you're like, well, that's dead. It can't start fast. But it's like every team, you're like, okay, they took the opening kickoff back. Well, they started fast. That's
great job.
Yeah, great job. I wonder what it takes to actually start fast.
You know what it is?
What?
Execution fuels emotion.
The execution fuels emotion, exactly. You got to make the consistent plays, routine plays routinely. Got to stay consistent, run the football.
Play with emotion.
Play with emotion.
Don't let emotion play with you.
Don't let emotion play with you. Austin does that every day of his life.
They're good coaching points.
They are. They're good life
just
points.
Take that.
They're good life points. If you're out there, play with emotion. Don't let emotion play with you.
Listening to Ryan Day every Tuesday, you learn a lot.
You do.
And
hey, he's coaching up these young men. He's not just coaching a football team.
He's winning a lot of games too.
You gotta, what is it? Chop wood and carry water.
That's right.
I listened to the first half of that book.
Well, you can read it too.
Wow. Wow.
See, it's more life points.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out more from Ryan Day and Ohio State at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on Tuesday noon. It'll be on 10 TV's YouTube channel. There'll be a live stream.
And 10 TV
and 10 TV Plus, where you can also find this show, The Beat, every day. Tuesdays, you already know, it's with Adam King. He is television's Adam King, as I affectionately refer to him.
And a lot of people call me. It's pretty great.
I didn't mean to give that.
No, it's hilarious.
I
love
that to be your nickname.
I love it.
But apparently it is.
I could have worse nicknames. I have had worse nicknames.
And after Ryan Day's press conference, Berm and I will have snap judgments. We'll be back Wednesday, a stock report, which I think there will be plenty for us to dive into on The Beat. You get that at 97.1 The Fan, the YouTube channel, 10 TV, 10 TV Plus, Apple and Spotify, or anywhere else that you get podcasts. Those are the only two that I know of. But maybe there's
Patreon.
more.
Are we on Patreon?
No, we're not on that.
Oh, you're not on Patreon. Don't go to Patreon.
I don't. Stay away from that. It's a fake Austin and Berm show if it's on Patreon.
Okay, it's a good call. I don't know.
Cancel your subscription.
There's a podcast that was on Patreon once I listened to, so I apologize.
It
wasn't yours.
Oh, thank goodness. I have a lot of questions, but that's what Talking Tuesday is for. He is Adam King. I'm Austin Ward. We'll see y'all later.